If, like me, you're quite partial to something that's a bit dry, somewhat dark, extremely bleak, and full of melancholy, then the Mexican drama After Lucia is right up your street. It had a successful tour around the festival circuit last year and found itself out in wide release a little bit earlier this year. The film follows the central character of Alejandra, who, alongside her father, has moved to a brand new town following the tragic death of her mother and Roberto's wife. The two are looking for a second chance at life. They're trying to start again, but it's not as easy when so much has been left behind, and the idea of grief and loss is still very present, not only within them as individuals, but within their relationship with each other. Both Roberto and Alejandro have very different coping mechanisms through After Lucia. Roberto's way of dealing with his loss is simply by shunning the world, hiding underneath his covers, and just kind of fully embracing the depression that comes with his grief. Whereas Alejandro is trying her best to kind of start again and make new friends. And she does, to begin with, but, things turn sour pretty quickly in a most tragic and horrible, horrible way. I won't go into too many details about what happens with Alejandro in After Lucia, because the less you know, the better experience the film is, in my opinion. But let's just kind of cut to the point where I'll say that what she believed to be her friends are actually just horrible, horrible people who begin a campaign of hate against her. Alejandra quickly becomes the victim of bullying, and because of the detachment from humanity that she's kind of suffered previously with the death of her mother, the resistance is harder than it would be for a lot of people. And at points the film will frustrate you, because as the bullying becomes more intense and more severe, you may find yourself kind of shouting at Alejandra, why don't you do something, stick up for yourself? But at the same time, when you see what she has to deal with her father, and the fact that she's just lost her mother recently, you can kind of empathise as to why maybe she would just kind of crawl back into herself. But that's not the only emotional response that After Lucia really triggers from you as an audience member. It actually really, really is hard to watch at points, because each act of bullying becomes even more severe than the last one, and it kind of just ramps itself up, set piece after set piece, and it gets to a point where there's just a real kind of tangible horribleness just screaming from the film. It's actually really hard to watch at points, yet at the same time it's kind of hard to take your eyes away. But there is a scene or two where it actually really kind of just stirs up so many emotions, and it gets you really angry to the point where you actually just want to just burst through the screen and just teach these horrible children a lesson. And that is a really interesting reaction that it gauges from the audience, because there is a bit of commentary on that idea from Michel Franco, whose mastering of tension in this film is brilliant. But there is also just this fantastic reactionary point where he's kind of looking, and as the film's ending, which obviously I won't spoil, indicates, it kind of questions the idea: is violence best retaliated with violent feelings or violence itself? It's a fantastic film. I absolutely adored this film. It is as hard as it was to watch, as emotional as it will make you feel in different ways. It is just a really dynamic film. It's pretty straightforward in terms of directional play, but just what is actually put and presented onto the screen is fantastic. And I have to give full credit to not only Michel Franco for his masterful work of tension and the amazing yet simple and subtle story that he's crafted here, but I also have to give massive, massive props to the performances in this film. In particular, Tessa Aya, who plays Alejandra, who just emits so much through so little. It's such a subtle but powerfully moving performance, and even though the film centres mainly around that, it's enough to make it worthwhile. Absolutely worthwhile. I love this film. I'm going to give it an 8. Definitely one of my favourites for the year. Go check it out.